Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Bree if you're new here. I live in Kansas Zone 6B, and today I'm going to show you what my garden is looking like in September. We are sitting about 1 month from our average first frost, and there's been a lot of change going on throughout this garden. I actually wanted to start in the exact same area I started last month's garden tour, just so if you wanted, you could flip back to August real fast. These sunflowers really need to come out. As you can see, they're really dying back. I have held on to my goldies so much this summer, but honestly, throughout the last week, I've cut all of them down, minus these two, but these two are at the point where they need to get out as well. I've been giving them to my chickens and they've been really enjoying them, so I really like how they have a dual purpose this year. They bloomed for 2 straight months, which I think is amazing. So the one thing that's really cool about this year versus last year is my garden was done at this point. Last year I ripped everything out by the second week of September so we could do a complete and total remodel of the garden. So it's really cool that this year I actually still have stuff in, because I really had my season done by mid-September last year. So it's really cool that I still have things going, but this year has just honestly been very weird. In August, I told you how we had so much heat, we had a lot of blossom drop, and we really didn't have much production going on. Now all of the plants are really catching up, and I'm afraid that it might be a little too late depending on when we get our frost this year. Currently, I have over 25 more loofahs, and I only had 9 previous to that. And we had a whole month and a half period where nothing in this garden was really doing much. So it was a really odd, hot, very weird summer, but it seems like a lot of the plants rebounded for the most part. There was a lot I had to obviously take out. I mean, the corn was at the end of its cycle, and honestly, corn just did not go that well this year. I did rainbow gem, and I know that corn is a really heavy feeder, but I still fed my plants quite a bit. So if you have any tips on corn, please leave them below, because I really still want to dabble in corn next year because it's a really handy crop. So please let me know. But like I was saying, a lot of these plants are getting a second wave. So if you can see these cherry tomatoes up top here, they are going absolutely crazy. There's so many blooms on them, and they're just now starting to fruit. And that's what's happening with a lot of my Romas as well. They are starting to fruit like crazy. But again, I don't know if they're going to even ripen in time. I'll be able to pull a lot of my tomatoes if they start, but it might be just a little too late. And if that's the case, it'll be really unfortunate. But we're still pretty warm. We are still averaging highs in the 90s. So if we were to get a first frost early, I'd be kind of shocked, just because we have been so warm. But one thing I know about Kansas is the weather is very unpredictable, so you just never know. So with our summer being so hot, a lot of my plans for summer didn't really pan out like I thought they were going to pan out. So a lot of my fall stuff really isn't panning out like I thought as well. So I could have had fall stuff kind of scattered wherever I had a random spot throughout the garden. So there's a lot of randomness going on right now, which is it's fine. But if I were to try to frost fabric all this, it's going to be a complete pain, and I don't think I'll be able to. I do have a few beds that are completely devoted to fall stuff like this right here. So I have some kale and some broccoli and some cabbage all in these 2 beds here. I have snow peas going on. I have krabi, some collards. I have some bok choy. What else do I have going on for fall? I have some lettuce going on, but that's really to the extent of a lot of what I'm doing for fall this year. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I will say though, I planted out 6 plants of calendula, and unfortunately I didn't have a spot at the time, and I needed direct sow them, and they're in one of my shadier spots, and they're not really growing. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get the calendula harvest I wanted this year. I did dry quite a bit of flowers, but not enough to really do a lot of the salves and stuff I wanted to play around with. So that's kind of unfortunate, but here we are. And then strawberries. I think strawberries have been one of my worst crops in the garden. I think it's mostly just because a lot of birds and squirrels just take my strawberries. So over winter, one thing I want to do is build strawberry cage boxes for my strawberries. So I'm actually going to thin these out one more time, probably come a handful of weeks, and I'm going to create a whole second strawberry bed, because honestly, I don't think 1 bed would be enough, because I really want to preserve. So I'm going to have 2 full beds of strawberries next year, I'm pretty sure. And again, I really want to build some nice cages I can just put over my 8x4 bed and make it a little bit easier on myself, instead of just trying to run after squirrels. So my San Marzanos are really starting to go crazy, and this is an area I think I'm going to switch up next year. So 3 years, like my first 3 years gardening, I had all of my tomatoes in this area over here, and the previous 2 I've had a majority over in my in-ground space that is slightly shadier because I have a maple tree right here. Either way, when the tomatoes were over here, they produced way more because it is a sunnier spot. So I am making that note where I'm thinking I might make this entire area a whole trellis space where I have one big L of trellis, and instead of doing determinates, I might do all indeterminate varieties, which would be kind of interesting because last year I made a whole video about how I prefer determinates over indeterminates because last year was my first year playing around with both. But I'm thinking, since I love trellises and you almost get a little bit more bang for your buck when it comes to indeterminates, I might just do a whole thing of indeterminates and plant something else over in my in-ground space. So if you have favorite paste varieties of indeterminates, please let me know down below because I'm going to be doing a lot of research and doing some seed shopping here really soon because I do want to start planning that out. But I was telling my husband that like the other day, you might think I'm crazy, but I like to do a lot of these mental notes right now as things are coming out of the garden because this is the time where your memory is fresh on what actually did well where. So if you need to switch something, it's a good time to jot that down or make a note of it. But I'm thinking I might do one big L of trellising next year, which would be just so fun. I mean, who doesn't love a good trellis? No, it cracked. So I've now had 2 casualties of cantaloupe. So I came out the other morning and I had a cantaloupe that was eaten by something. I did run into a possum the other evening, which was kind of scary. I was out here trying to film a monarch and out of nowhere I saw a possum, which we live in the city, so but this one just fell off and it's not really mature, so I'm gonna go give this to the chickens real fast. So let me show you something cool real fast while we're at it. Here's a monarch chrysalis and another monarch chrysalis and another one. There was one right here and that was the one I ended up being able to catch being hatched, which was really cool. Hold on. Okay, you ready? Good job. So as some of you know, this is my first year with chickens and I will be doing a 6-month update video here in a handful of weeks. But one reason I really love having the chickens is I feel like nothing gets wasted. So even if these don't fully mature and dry in time, the chickens will eat them. Great. Anything that's kind of spoiled or not that great, the chickens will eat. Any type of foliage, like I mentioned with the sunflowers, they will eat. So I really, really love having them because it really helps the amount I'm throwing in my compost piles and also the amount I'm bagging, because if I have any diseased foliage, I will bag that and not put that in my compost just to keep disease out of my garden. But you guys, this loofah is going absolutely crazy. A lot of people ask me how many plants I have on here, and I have 2. And this is a 25-foot trellis and it's done really, really well. So just know if you want to grow loofah, the plants are wild and they go absolutely crazy. So I also have honey nut squashes on here that I actually could probably harvest a handful of them as we speak. This cute little honey nut squash. So that is a butternut squash variety that is vine borer resistant. And I will say it is vine borer resistant because the vine borers got my pumpkins this year. So as you can see, loofahs, 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 more loofahs, and then we have cantaloupe. So we are getting a whole second round of cantaloupe. Oh my gosh, I think that is ladybug larva. That's super cool. So we are getting a whole second round of cantaloupe. We have a few really good sized ones on here. This is Hal's Jumbo and highly suggest this variety. It's been very disease resistant up until this point. I have some foliage starting to die back, but for the most part, this plant has just been happy and thriving. and it's been very productive in my garden and I really like it. So I'm really excited. My bell peppers are actually starting to produce decent peppers. So my bells and my serranos were terrible. So I didn't cut back my bells because I did read that if you cut those back to make them a more bushier plant, bells for some reason don't like that. I mean, it could be a myth, I don't really know, but I didn't do it with bells, but I did do it with my serranos. And since I did that with my serranos, I really noticed that they didn't start to mature or really start to put on a decent amount of fruit until the last like 3 or 4 weeks after we got over that heat spell, like I was saying. So I really haven't gotten many serranos. I have gotten a ton of paprikas, a good amount of cayennes, jalapenos, and bananas. I do not need as many banana peppers as I have. I have way too many banana peppers. I think I'm going to really lower the amount of bananas I grow next year. I'm thinking paprika might be pretty close. I might have to up that. I currently have like roughly half a jar, a 32-ounce jar filled of paprika powder, which I'm really excited about. I didn't even get, what, an eighth of that last year, so that's cool. But yeah, I'm really excited that my bells are actually starting to put on decent sized fruit. I was really worried there because last year, like I said, since I took the garden out about this time last September, I really didn't get many bells last year either because bells were really late last year as well. So I don't know. The previous years I had so much harvest by this point and I really haven't done anything else different. It's just every year's so weird. So other than all of my peppers, I have 9 more okra plants over here. I have some cucumbers, some zinnias, kale, lettuce, bok choy, more lettuce, carrots, and also broccoli. And then I have all of my aromas, of course. So one thing I noticed as well with the heat and how dry and hot we were in the month of August, a lot of this fruit I'm currently getting is a quarter of the size it was prior to all that, which is really sad. So to put the whole tomato thing into perspective for you, last year at this time, with me taking all of this stuff out of the garden already, I had 25 or 30 gallon size freezer bags filled with Romas ready to preserve. This year, I think I'm sitting at like 7 or 8 bags. So I'm really not going to get the tomato sauce I was hoping to get this year. I was thinking with doubling the amount of tomato plants we had out this year, I was going to get closer to a year's worth. We were really close last year, but now with the amount we currently have of tomatoes, I mean, I don't even think we probably won't even get a 6 months worth, which is really, really sad because that's one thing we've done for years now that is like one of our favorite things to preserve. So we have had the world's crappiest tomato year out of the 5 years I've gardened. All right, well, I think that's going to conclude it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the garden in September. I can't believe the only thing going in this garden at this point will be garlic, and that will be in about 4 to 6 weeks, which I honestly can't believe. I feel like it's October of last year. This year went so fast. I think I'm gonna plant the garlic where I have my peppers because that's a really sunny spot. But either way, I'm going to end things here. I'll see you guys all next week. Bye.